So you're feeling pretty good today?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I did stuff I've been putting off a lot.
Went to
So
the gym.
yeah, I hadn't gone for I think about a month, maybe a little over a month. So
What do you
yeah,
think
that
about
wasn't
that
good for me.
idea, though, of limiting the amount of time that you go to the gym for a while so that to not fall in the trap of perfectionism and just to like establish a habit?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful. I was thinking maybe I'll go to the gym strictly from 4 to 5. So that way, because I my workouts are usually like an hour and a half to 2 hours. So yeah,
But
it kind of
I
burned me
would
out
I
at
would
times.
think you should pare it back to like ten minutes or 20 minutes, at least according to this principle.
Mm.
Because an hour sounds like something that's easy to 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 feel daunted by, you know.
Um, I don't know, in my case, since I'm used to almost 2-hour workouts, an hour seems like a good dream to me.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, we'll come
so
back next
I
week and see if it worked.
yeah, we'll see.
So, the first topic I thought we'd talk about, I wrote just something quick about emotional maturity.
Mhm,
Know your stuff, your trigger points, what bothers, angers, offends you, makes you tighten up, lose perspective, withdraw, get defensive. Own who you are. Take responsibility for it. This will affect the social fabric in your little area and can make a big difference in crucial situations. This is where emotional maturity blends with morality. So, what do you think?
mm. Yeah, it sounds like something we could all kind of work on. I think maybe it's hint kind of talking about how there's maybe darker sides of ourselves that we kind of try to deny a lot
Mhm.
or don't want to accept when we could just kind of acknowledge our kind of weak points
Mhm.
and kind of and work on that.
Yeah, and take responsibility for them.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think, mm,
because yeah, we don't like to think of ourselves as maybe overly sensitive or I don't know, and any other kind of negative qualities you can think of. We don't like to think about that, but
mhm,
it's there.
mhm. Yeah, I think a lot about how you live your life affects people around you a lot, you
Mm,
know, like, even not keeping a promise to yourself or something like to go to the gym or something,
mm,
you're going to be a little more distracted than you would otherwise be
mm,
if you did that.
mm,
And if you're more distracted, you're less present with other people, you're less attentive, you're listening less. And so
mhm,
that's affecting your relationships. And then there's going to be sort of part of a feedback loop from that, then maybe
mm,
other people are going to be a little more touchy or a little less present with you or asking questions that are distracting them and making them less present with you and
mm,
with and or maybe with others or at their job later on.
mm,
Yeah. Yeah, so that's sort of how we live has a moral dimension beyond ourselves.
mhm,
I mean, I think they talk about this in the Waking Up app too. Yeah, he sometimes says during the daily meditation that like this is like an intention that you have for other people in the world and people around you to be more present, to be more focused, to be less reactive, to be a better version of yourself. So it's not you're not just training your mind for yourself, but for others as well.
mhm,
And yeah, to me that makes it a lot more meaningful actually. Yeah. But yeah, maybe that's what a lot of sometimes I think with morality we get hung up on the practical aspect. but like we sort of think more of ethics, but
mm,
morality seems to be deeper and yeah, more subtle. And it has something to do with who you are as a person, and that affects in complex and subtle and constant sort of ways your
mm,
relationships and other people. You know, to have someone around you that's distracted or etc. Um, affects how you feel that day and how you will be with others.
mhm,
That's probably one reason why very famous religious figures are known to be sort of like people that people want to be around. I always use the story of Buddha and how like there's a lot of stories about him, or at least one that I remember about people just wanting to be in his presence, just
mm,
because he was so, I don't know exactly, but calm, present, attentive, non reactive, you know.
mm.
Like that means a lot, right? Like, have you ever talked to people, someone that was like that? When you talk to them, they were looking at you and they were listening. It
Mm,
feels very, very different than talking to most people who are sort of looking to like reacting to what you're saying,
mm,
or to the opposite person who's like reactive or distracted, barely, not present,
mm,
barely listening to what you're saying, not really listening at all, where you kind of feel like it's almost a waste of time to talk to them.
mhm, mm.
But yeah, have you been in the presence of someone like that where it seemed you felt they were really there?
I'm not so sure I've come across that. Like, I'm thinking maybe of like good high school teachers I've had, maybe like interacting with them as a student and kind of felt uh just kind of, yeah, they were like present and kind of focused.
Mm,
Um, but I'm not sure if like I've had much of that beyond possibly those experiences.
mm.
But how about you?
Hmm. I don't know. I've had many good conversations where it felt like we were flowing.
Hmm.
So I'm sure it's happened to me a lot.
Hmm.
And I try to be that way a lot. And I've been told I'm a pretty good listener.
Hmm. Yeah, like
Yeah, I
I
guess.
can't really tell.
Hmm?
Like, yeah, I can't really tell in my case, really.
Mhm. But have you ever imagined someone like that? Does that?
Yeah, like I've thought of like a may fantasize sort of like a mentor figure or yeah, like that kind of person that would be like that, or maybe like a spiritual figure of sorts too. Um, so yeah, I'd like to find that kind of person.
Yeah, do you think emotional maturity is a to know your weaknesses and to recognize them when they come up, and to try to be, yeah, less within that pattern, and to sort of get better? Do you think that's like a responsibility? Are there moral duties?
Um, I feel there are, but I'm just not so sure that emotional maturity is something lots of people are, at least that kind of level of reflection is something a lot of people are capable of. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of hard to think of a duty when it seems that for a large chunk of people, they don't have that level of introspection or
I mean, you think they
kind of
can't?
self-awareness.
I think they can.
I think so. Like, yeah, I'm not sure, but maybe if our society was more encouraging or of that or of exploring that, I think maybe we wouldn't have as many of those kinds of people. Uh, but yeah, if you want to think of it as a moral duty, I think it would be a good one to have for people to kind of strive for.
Mhm. Yeah, because like I said before, I think yeah, it reverberates. Like it's we're kind of talking about who you are with others,
Mhm,
because we so often can be reactive in
mhm,
subtle ways too, and or not present
mhm,
or acting on an agenda,
yeah,
speaking like expressing ourselves excitedly. Something
mhm,
that we've already thought of, something that we're excited about, but I don't know. Maybe there, in that case, there's less kind of paying attention to the other person.
mhm. Yeah, and I feel like maybe we have some messaging that kind of doesn't encourage that kind of reflection. You kind of hear it a lot, like you're good just the way you are, and like you kind of shouldn't have to change, or people or society should accept you the way you are. So um,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
that kind of idea just isn't helpful, and maybe something like that is maybe why we're maybe have a large chunk of people that don't seem receptive
Yeah.
to kind of looking inside themselves.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know, we have this pleasure kind of seeking society, pleasure, stimulation, distraction. And when
Mhm,
we feel pain, which may be from uh, misses that we have when we try things in life or socially, the idea is to not feel bad rather than to
mhm,
uh, understand why we did something that or something happened that made us
mhm,
feel bad
mhm.
and how to maybe rectify that or to come to terms with that in some way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like we're scared of pain, and I guess modern society has come up with a lot of ways to kind of hide from it.
Yeah. Yeah, we obviously have a lot of drugs and things legal and illegal to sort of keep us from feeling pain. Another thing uh that I thought we would talk about was we've talked before about stories, about
Mhm,
like I've tried to bring up the idea that there are sort of important stories that tell us something about our culture and which of those live in us, sort of, so to speak. And then so more recently, I thought of the story of the tortoise and the hare. Like, I
mhm,
think everybody knows this story, or a lot of people know this story. So I wrote, does everyone understand seeing things as a race oriented towards a goal? And what other stories do we know? But yeah, isn't that a story that everybody knows? And I wonder if it's sort of, if so, if that fact has something to do with the idea that yeah, we see things as a race, or we're
mhm,
very we our minds very easily go towards seeing
mhm,
things as a race and as and things as oriented towards a goal.
mhm. Well, I think a lot. My mind has worked that way a lot. Um, so I could imagine maybe it's the same for other. Uh,
Well, just talk about yourself if you like to.
yeah, so it's probably still the case. I think that just my mind is just I've just been focused on getting a better job, getting more money, and settling down somehow. And I've kind of created these timelines and scenarios in my head of what I want to accomplish and when. And kind of imagining what that looks like. Um, so yeah, I
That's
think I've kind
obviously
of fallen
important.
into it.
I'm
Yeah, it's
sorry.
important, but maybe I'm too focused on it or something, or it's not useful at times.
Yeah. Well, don't you think you should turn that off a few hours a day?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I
yeah.
kind of get that idea from Cal Newport of like stopping at a certain time of day, like before dinner time. And
Mhm,
he has this new book out that I've only started to read, Slow
mhm,
Productivity. But I think the idea is to be like productive people in earlier times that got uh, no less important stuff done, but thought differently and worked more slowly.
mm,
And so I think a really, really quick and dirty version is that they basically got less quote unquote work done, but
mhm,
they were more productive for things that were important or that brought them and others happiness or uh yeah. Yeah, because a lot of people when they're kind of distracted, overworked, they're doing things that is maybe so-called work, but is yeah, they're distracted. They're not and
mhm,
they're not efficient, basically.
mhm,
And the mind, you've probably heard that people can only really do about an hour and a half or maybe 3 hours of real deep focus work, each day.
mhm.
And that a lot of that other stuff is just kind of busy work or just kind of yeah, less important kinds of stuff. And yeah. But yeah, I just think yeah, I asked you before, like, is there some time that you've had just to relax, to reflect, to meditate today? And it seemed like you were kind of indicating that your mind was preoccupied all day with like practical considerations,
Mhm,
with these plans, with the future, kind
mhm,
of being not where you are.
mhm. Yeah, so it wasn't today, but a few days ago I did more mindfulness meditation. So at those times I took moments to just not be preoccupied with the future, the past, or what was bothering me and what I wasn't liking. So yeah, it just feels really good.
Yeah, it's good.
Take the
Yeah, I'd
time to do
encourage you
that.
to do that a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like when I'm doing those meditations, I kind of try to remember to that I'm kind of think of myself as just like a human being existing and breathing, and there's nothing else to really think about or consider. Like I'm
Yeah.
just kind of tapping into like my natural self.
Yeah. Yeah, and something along those lines is Cal Newport's idea of having a reading habit, reading every day. And that's a way to I know you read a lot as a kid and a lot of it was
Mhm,
to get away from your life, but this does seem like maybe a good way to learn and also to get away from sort of recurring kind of ruminative think,
mhm,
recurring thoughts, ruminative thinking,
mhm.
especially some reading that's yeah, very different from the life, and not like an accounting book or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel if I get deeper into that, I really need to read or get away from it somehow.
Well, if you could start reading today, what book would you start with?
Uh, I have my pile of books here. I'm gonna take a quick look.
Oh, you have an actual to-do
It's
pile of
yeah, it's
books.
right next to me. I have the books you sent me. Uh, oh, I would probably want to read Keys right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that
Uh,
book. I think that
yeah,
was a
and
yeah.
yeah.
I think that was a book that was at work, wasn't it?
I don't remember, but I think you liked it, and then you got yourself a copy, and then you got me another one. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that was a book actually that a client I saw a client carrying around and reading, and so I asked to take a
mhm,
look at it, and I liked it a lot, and I knew the author and had read some of his other
mhm,
books, Thich Nhat Hanh,
yeah, yeah,
and yeah, yeah, I think I read that book in like one sitting on a Saturday or something like that,
mhm,
or one over one day. Read most of
yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah. So I'd want to read his works, and right below that, I have the Fear book by him that you got me too.
yeah, that's a good book. I have that on audio book.
Mm, yeah, that's who I'd be reading if I were to
Okay.
take the time right now.
Well,
But how
maybe we
about
can
you?
just Well, I was gonna say maybe we can discuss those later if
Hmm.
you read those and you can maybe
Yeah,
refresh my memory.
yeah. I remember we had discussions before, and I found them quite enjoyable.
Well, I mean, I am you know I'm reading Rousseau right now. But for sort of more I don't know, pleasure, less serious reading, I'm reading I just started The White Pill by Michael Malice. Do you know what that is at all?
I don't, but I remember him being interviewed on Lex Friedman, and that was a pretty. I like those interviews.
Yeah, yeah, he's kind of irreverent. He's very irreverent and like internet on the internet he's a troll, but I think he has like a good heart in that he truly does care. A lot of things that he said make me think that he truly does care about like people not suffering, people not going hungry and things like that, and also having a good life. So but yeah, The White Pill is a new book of his, just kind of giving us reason to be optimistic. Now it's a book. I've only started reading it, but I've heard him give some kind of synopsis of it, and it talks about idealistic political communists in America in maybe 1920s and 30s that actually went to the promised land and were severely disillusioned. So they went to the Soviet Union during Stalin's reign and they came back and they tried to share with a lot of other people their what they saw, and just these people were true believers. They were idealistic communists.
Mhm,
They knew much better than the people who had gone there what was really going on there, you know.
mhm,
Um, and also another of those people is Ayn Rand, who, you know,
mhm,
the philosopher sort of writer, and yeah, she grew up in the Soviet Union. I think she came to the United States when she was like 21 years old. I guess during that time there's early Soviet period, there were brief thawing periods where people were allowed to leave. Like I guess there were a few of those thawing periods. And
mhm,
during one of those, she left on the pretext of like just a visit to friends, but everybody, excuse me, to I think relatives in the United States, but everybody knew she was leaving for good. And some a Russian, God, what did he tell her? When she was leaving, he basically told her like, please tell them that we are, you know, some really extreme language, like tell them we are living dead over here or something like
uh-huh,
that. And her book later on, her novelized version uh, of what life was like in Soviet Russia at that time was called We the Living later on. But anyway, yeah. So I'm reading The White Pill, trying to give, you know, he doesn't like a lot of political developments in the United States now. He moved from New York to Austin, partially because of that, I think. But even though he's a lifelong New Yorker and loved New York, but he's, you know, I think he's trying to temper some people's extreme pessimism or cynicism.
mhm.
You know, and saying, yeah, in some ways, the times we live in are kind of dark, or you know, bleak, but it's
Yeah.
nothing like what many times in history have been in many places. Soviet, and I think he focuses on the Soviet Union, which is, I think, where he came from, although just as a baby, but has
Mm,
family and everything. And yeah, I think I sent you on Spotify, with a subscription, you can listen to audiobooks. Like they
mhm,
give you like 15 hours a week or something like that. It's pretty good.
mhm,
And I like today I spent most of the day listening and I covered most of Rob Henderson's new memoir.
mhm,
I think it's called A Troubled Kid. And so he talks about his difficult upbringing and just and that his life. He's young. He's like in his mid 30s or something. But he's just talking about his very unstable childhood. He never knew his father. Mother was on drugs and would it seems like be a prostitute, like to pay for the habit, and she would like tie him up when he was like 3 years old, when she
mhm,
was, doing that, and he moved around the foster system, and then even when he got like to a good family and got adopted, after that it was unstable. Even his adoptive father ended up not talking to him after his adoptive mother left the
mhm.
father, and to get back at her, he stopped talking to the boy. And
Oh,
then the mother left the father for was another woman, and they ended up, and the mother again ended up leaving her after a while. And then she wasn't really in his life either, even though she was
mhm,
like a kind of stable, good, loving person when
mhm.
she was for the years that she was kind of co-raising him. So it's just an extreme. And
Wow.
then, he lived in like kind of a poor neighborhood. And of course, he got in trouble and alcohol and everything. So it's just like extremely unstable childhood. And
Mm,
then he joined the military and it was very stable, but he still had all his demons. So it's a
mhm,
really good book. And it's almost funny at times too. Just
mm,
I think it's his style or his, just the terrible ironies and things.
mm.
But yeah, I highly recommend it. I think you might like it.
Yeah, I think I would too.
But yeah, he always had passed, but after he was finally able to learn to read after like kind of late, he always had books that he went to as a kid for to get away from the chaos of his life.
Mhm,
So yeah, I'm reading those things. I think those are the only things. Oh, I'm reading some. Oh, I also, yeah, I kind of started a lot of audiobooks recently. The Cal
mhm.
Newport Slow Productivity, and also I've been reading like a Scott Young book. He wrote Ultra Learning, so he's deep in the cognitive science of learning.
Okay.
Anything else on your mind?
Mhm. Not so far, but yeah, I would be curious to hear what books he was reading as a kid.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah, he talks about them in the book.
I can't remember. I don't think much. Oh, no, yeah, but he more like talks about later books that
Mhm,
he's reading that started at him like thinking about the mind and becoming a social scientist, which is
mhm,
what he is. Yeah, I think he mentioned reading Steven Pinker's book, How the Mind Works.
mhm.
as like kind of getting it was like in an airport or something, I think, and he
Mhm,
kind of like noticed the title and it intrigued him. And I think it was the one book he brought on like a deployment to Saudi Arabia with the Air Force.
mhm.
But yeah, I really like Steven Pinker. Well, until next time.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, take care.
Yep, bye.